everyone, in today's video I'm going to paint a horse with pan pastels and pastel pencils. If I sound a bit strange, it's because of my hay fever allergy, so I'm a bit snotty and everything, so pay no heed to that. And I am using a headset to record my narration, so yeah, sound quality may be a bit shitty compared to older videos, but I'm working on it. Anyway, I hope you enjoy.
I start off with blocking in the white markings to prevent them becoming lost in the darker colors later. Also this way, if you accidentally go over the white with a darker color, the white will still show through. This is also a very handy trick to use when you're doing white small highlights in eyes, for example, or when drawing whiskers, so you don't lose those details later on. After I blocked in the white parts, I block in the rest of the horse with pan pastel, using mainly sponges and something that looks like an eyeshadow applicator. Then I use a sponge again to block in the background roughly with pan pastels. I'm not worrying about details at all at this stage. All I aim for right now is to build up the colors and find out where the shadows and highlight areas are. This way I can slowly shape up my background. Then I go back in with one of those makeup applicators and start refining the shapes in the background. It still looks rough, but you start to get the idea for the background. It's all about building up your shapes and colors slowly. Then I leave the background for a bit and go back in to the horse by drawing out its features with a pastel pencil, as the sketch got a bit lost underneath the first pastel layers. I am basically retracing my sketch, so I have some guidelines for when I am going to shade and refine the horse, so it will not become an anatomical disaster later on. So now that I got my horse lined out, I add some more color in the background around the horse's edges. Then I move into the horse again and start blocking in the shadow areas. Starting by adding some reddish browns and then add a darker blue on top of the darkest areas. Then when I feel I mapped my shadows out, I start the detailing process. Usually I start with detailing the head to draw in the highlights, in this case a bright yellow. Then I refine the nose with black and grays. Then I use an indigo blue pastel pencil to draw in my darkest shadows in the horse's face. I am using the same color to block in its mane. For this piece I am using a pastel board by Ampersand. I have used this same board before for a heron piece I did in colored pencils. I will put the link to that video in the video's description if you're curious and want to watch that. While working with colored pencils on this board was tedious, I really liked how well it worked with the pastels. It holds a lot of layers and I am able to get real strong colors and crisp details on it with my pastel pencils, which doesn't always happen on other surfaces. So before I continue with the horse's body, I will first detail the little bush in front of the horse's legs. As the legs don't need much detail, as they are pretty much out of focus and almost disappear behind the plants. Then I continue on the horse's neck and darken it up significantly, as the part is mostly in shadows. Notice how much dust the pencil produces. I found that the pan pastel applicator works great when you rub over the dust and push it in the tooth of the surface. This way it doesn't go all over the place and you don't have to waste product. I really wish I knew about this sooner, as it would have prevented a lot of mess. I also get asked a lot if you should fixate your pastel paintings. You certainly can, but I personally don't do it because it dulls the colors significantly. And if you have a lot of product on your paper, I found you can seal it all you want, but it still comes off. Best thing to do is to store your paintings flat with a sheet of glassine paper on top of the picture. This way the pastel won't come off and is protected. Or you could just frame your piece. Now it's time to detail the background. In this case, the background is super detailed, even though it's slightly blurred. It's easy to become overwhelmed when you have to draw something that has many tedious little details in it. What I usually do in this case is to draw out shapes and not to fret over getting it to look 100% accurate to the reference photo. As long as it looks realistic and there's a bit of likeness, then nobody will notice anyway. Also, there's nothing wrong by adding a bit of your own spice to your drawing. You don't want a flat out copy of the original photo after all. By drawing all those little twigs and flowers, I realized how well the surface accepts pastel pencils, which are the hardest grade of pastels. On velour and other softer surfaces, pastel pencils don't catch on so well, as they are kind of scratchy and can even damage papers like that. But on this board they come out really vibrant and crisp. Because the board has so much tooth, it's very easy to go over a dark area or an area with a lot of pastel already on it with a white or light pastel pencil and have it show up perfectly. Something that is much harder on other pastel surfaces I tried. So this pastel board is very forgiving in that sense. Also, never be afraid to use a lot of color. As you may have noticed, I used quite a lot of blues, reds and purples among the more natural colors in the background and the horse. It helps to make a color wheel to find out which colors works together best, but for me it works to balance cold and warm colors to get interesting, bold and rich colors. When I want to tone down some colors or blur things out, I use the pan pastel applicator. It's a whole lot more comfortable than when I'd have to use my finger. Ouch! I guess makeup applicators and paper stumps would be good alternatives to blend with as well. So I'm adding the last touches to the background before I go finish my horse. As you can see, I can go over previous layers with ease. I did never reach the point to where the surface would not accept any more pastel. Just how awesome is that? Now I am adding the final touches to the horse by adding more shadows and then adding some loose strands of hair with a pastel pencil to give the mane a bit more depth. Then I add some blue shadows on the horse's front and softly pat those with the applicator to gently blend the colors and get rid of the dust. Then I go back in with a bright orange to draw out the fur texture. And then at last I put in some shades in the white markings and also draw in the fur texture. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like. Also, if you don't want to miss out on any of my future videos, please subscribe to my channel. So I want to thank you for watching and hopefully see you all back into my next video. Have a good one!